Alright guys, how's it going? So this video is a follow-on to my previous video about the contracts impasse at Anfield surrounding Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mo Salah. Now, you know that I monitor everything, right? Every hour, every day, every week, right? For you guys. I monitor everything to do with Liverpool Football Club. I read every single report that I find, especially from people that we should be paying attention to, the likes of Paul Joyce, and that's what is inspiring these videos today, right? Because obviously he was the one that did this article about this impasse. He referred to it as a continued impasse, like we're already supposed to know about this kind of thing. And you know that I'm always examining these articles from the credible sources and asking myself, why am I reading this? Who's the message for? Who does it help, etc., etc. And in the article today, I noticed an expression that I've seen quite a bit over the last couple of weeks in various articles from people that are associated in one way or another to Liverpool Football Club. The journalists, whether it's credible journalists like Paul Joyce, David Ornstein, or whether it's trickling down a little bit to the Liverpool clique of journalists, they all agree with each other, you all say the same thing all at the same time, right? And what I've been seeing is this. So, talking about the contract impasse, Paul Joyce, in his latest article, said, this is one of the paragraphs, the Liverpool head coach, Arne Slot, said on Friday that there was no update on the futures of Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who are all out of contract at the end of the season. Get ready. That situation, one inherited by the sporting director Richard Hughes, is far from ideal. And the overtures to other members of the squad are partly motivated by a desire to prevent a similar scenario from materialising. The key bit in here is one inherited by the sporting director Richard Hughes. That is the one line that I keep seeing over the last couple of weeks, right? And it's standing out. It reminds me of my favourite television series, House of Cards on Netflix, and Frank Underwood saying in it, he wanted to coin a phrase, trickle-down diplomacy, I think it was. And to cut a long story short, as like all politicians do, when they want to get a specific sentence out or saying out, wherever they pop up, whichever politician it is, if it's the same party, right? They all use that, they go by that mantra. So they'll go on television and you'll pick out one sentence they're all saying on every single interview. And Frank Underwood is behind one in House of Cards. I think it's season 1, episode 2. And he wants to use this saying trickle-down diplomacy. And then all of a sudden you see all these different interviews, trickle-down diplomacy, trickle-down. They're all saying the same thing. And this is what's happening here, just like politicians. You've got these journalists that are saying the situation inherited by Richard Hughes. It's not his fault, he inherited it. Michael Edwards, it's not his fault, he inherited it, right? Now, you could argue, right now, you could say to me now, but that's a true statement. It is, but they weren't using that statement earlier in the year, right? They didn't use it in September or August or July or June, right? It's what we're seeing now consistently. Now, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, I don't force my opinions on any way, I always advise you to come up with your own conclusions. In my opinion, this is, you've got a journalist in Paul Joyce, brilliant journalist, the best concerning Liverpool Football Club right now. It sort of like goes like that between him and David Ornstein at The Athletic. Ornstein he's connected to people running the club on a day-to-day basis and the big cheese in Boston, right, FSG. Whereas Joyce he's just people running the club on a day-to-day basis, right? But he's exceptionally close, we believe, to Michael Edwards and now Richard Hughes. Now, if you remember when Michael Edwards came back into the equation, we can't say back into the club because people will be pedantic and they'll say he's not Liverpool Football Club, he's FSG, but he oversees football for FSG, that obviously includes Liverpool Football Club. But what I mean is when he came back into the fold, if you like, started referring to Joyce as born-again Joyce. Do you remember? Because we'd not really seen anything from him. It was all Ornstein. Edwards is back and then Joyce is born again. And suddenly he's got all these updates, and he's very, aware of what's going on within the club. And there was articles that were critical of Jurgen Klopp, I feel, little digs, like digs appearing here and there, and Darwin Núñez was who Klopp wanted, the club wanted other people, and basically like if Edwards had been at the club it wouldn't have happened, and all this quite pro-Edwards writing, if you like, which would make sense if Edwards is your friend and it's not just a working relationship, and also that then developed into becoming pro-Hughes as well, right? So you can often pick out these journalists as to where they're getting their information from, because if let's, for argument's sake, if you believe that Edwards and or Hughes is supplying Paul Joyce with critical updates and leaning on him for help because he can put articles out that can help things, then you're not going to criticize them. And I've noticed a turn in Joyce's writing. He's very pro these two men. So for me, it kind of verifies what I already know anyway. But I'm just putting it out there for you to watch it yourself, and you'll see it in the articles, trust me. And I keep seeing this, Richard Hughes inherited over the last couple of weeks, right? But not earlier in the year. That to me suggests that it's been emphasized. You're Richard Hughes, and you're speaking to journalists and you're saying, I inherited this situation. I didn't create this situation. I inherited this situation. It's already like being on the defensive, right? In case something goes wrong. And I feel that they're laying that now. They're planting that seed now, because, your casual reader or whatever goes, well, it's true. He did inherit that. He did inherit that situation. So in other words, we can all blame George Schmacker, Boy George or whatever, because, he allowed this to happen. Did he have the authority? Did he have the power, the real strength to sort all this out? I would argue that Edwards and Hughes have been back at the club long enough, to get stuck into this situation. And judging by the impasse, it sounds like Liverpool might be taking the piss. We don't know, because these three players are deadlocked and not willing to commit to anything at the moment, right? So, it's a negotiating process. We can't just criticise the club, but we can't criticise the players, because we don't really know what's going on. So we can only summarise and look for signs. And like I say, I'm seeing this inherited mentioned more and more and more over the last couple of weeks. I'm not tapped, guys. I'm telling you, I'm seeing it everywhere, right? Inherited. So that's the message that they're trying to get out from Liverpool now. And I find that alarming, because I think that's them basically saying, shit, we're in trouble here, the way things are going, all right? So we just need to point out that we inherited this situation before the fans turn on us if one leaves or more than one leaves or whatever. And it also makes sense that they're going, shit, this situation that we inherited, because now you're being fed in the article there's an impasse and they're deadlocked, right? Which kind of like makes, you might be defensive of the club, think, hang on, the club is doing their best here. The top Reds will tell you this if it all goes pear-shaped. The club's done their best here, trying to get them to sign new deals. It's not their fault if they won't accept new deals, which is making people maybe go a little bit like, hang on, are they being greedy? My answer or suggestion to that would be, hang on, is the club taking the piss? Do you know what I mean? So the reason for this video is to say to you that I have noticed in multiple reports, right, from these various level of Liverpool journalists, the use of the words inherited. Richard Hughes inherited this. They inherited this, which I think is the club just going, oh, hang on a minute, you know what I mean? So every time, imagine what would you do if you're Richard Hughes? You would be saying that, wouldn't you? You'd be saying, when you speak to a journalist, whether it's a big gun or one of the clicky nobodies, you'd be saying that. Well, don't forget, off the record, I inherited this situation. Not my fault. I'm trying to make it happen. So, and like I say, I'll remind you, they've not been using that saying for several months. It's not been there. We're just starting to see more of it, and I think that's a bad sign, and I think it's a concerning sign. And match that up with the impasse, the deadlock and everything, and it kind of explains why we're seeing the term inherited, why that's being pointed out to us on a regular basis at the moment. And I would advise that when you read these articles moving forward, you just look to see if you see that term come up again, right? Now, I don't know whether this situation will be resolved or not, guys. I don't. People that I have, a great deal of time for, and people that I respect and trust, that I've known for many years, they're not saying anything. The only thing that I've been told was that Trent Alexander-Arnold's representatives, if you like, want to drag it out as long as possible this year. And one can only assume that's to see if Real Madrid do come knocking. I'm going to do a video about Trent and Real Madrid after this one. So that's the only thing I've really heard on that front, to be honest with you. And I did put that out in a newsletter. I don't know if it was my last newsletter or no, it might have been two previous. So I do send bits out in the newsletter as well. It's very easy read. There's no advertising or anything like that. I'm not trying to sell you anything in any of the newsletters. The link is in the video description if you want to jump on it. There will be one going out this week. And because it's written and I'm taking my time when I'm writing them, maybe they're a little bit more easier to understand than my videos, all right? But I'll just want to repeat again, the reason for the video, I wanted to do one specifically about this topic. I could have put it on the other video, but I wanted to do it as a standalone, is I have noticed the emphasis at the moment from, people that report on Liverpool Football Club using this inherited, like the people at Liverpool Football Club are going, hang on a minute, we inherited this situation, which is a true fact, no doubt about it, but they are emphasising it. And why would you emphasise it? You would only emphasise it if things were not going right. Because if everything was going right behind the scenes, you wouldn't be saying, well, I inherited this. You'd just be going, yeah, we're cracking on with it. Does that make sense? I'm not sure if it makes sense to you, if you're on my way of thinking. Throw in the impasse claims as well, and it kind of matches up. All right, so I'm going to leave that with you. I hope it made sense. If you appreciate the video, please do thumbs up my video. Please drop me a comment. I read every single comment that's posted on here. And if you want to buy me a beer or a coffee, hit the super thanks button. It's the love heart under the video, or read the video descriptions. There's other ways to support me in there. The newsletter, the chat room, my social media, and so on. I'm planning on doing a live stream this afternoon at 2 o'clock UK time. I'd love to see you if you can pop along. It's the international break. If you don't come along to the live streams during the international break, then I just will knock them on the head until the international breaks, pass. You know what I mean? I don't want just to sit there twiddling my thumbs if there's no one turning up. So I'm not bothered with that. It's cool. You know what I mean? Like if you're not interested in football during this period, that's fine by me. But I will host one at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and I don't know about this evening. We'll see. All right, we'll work it out. I hate the international breaks because I like to talk about Liverpool, and I think this is worth discussing. I think your opinion is really valid and important on this subject, to be honest with you. All right, so if you haven't watched my previous video about the impasse, I suggest you do. And also on, there's House of Cards behind me, look. That's because I was researching before I did this video, because I wanted to make the link with what politicians do when they try and get a particular coin a phrase. That's the saying, coin a phrase. And the phrase that's being coined at Anfield at the moment specifically is this inherited. And you have to ask yourself why they would keep saying that. Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. I know it's true. But they haven't said it for months and months. They haven't mentioned it all year until now. So to me, it just suggests that all is not well. And with the impasse claims, it kind of backs up my way of thinking. All right, guys, I'll leave it with you. Please read the video description. Drop me a comment. I'd like to know what you think about it all. And hopefully we'll speak real soon.